Excellent topics for this morning on ITV Sunday edition. It's all about the Peace Pact. After we're to talk about the dilly-dally, so to speak, between Labour and the government of the day, all about the minimum wage. 30 was signed, they're now battling with 24 and 22. What a breaker, but all the same. Now, analysts will throw more light on that. I'm not going to start with that discourse yet. Let's go with the Peace Pact. With me here in the studio, I have a legal practitioner. When we talk about political and local politics, international, he's well grounded. Please join me. Welcome, Barrister Robinson Imade. Welcome to the show, sir. I appreciate your coming. Thank you so much for coming. And sitting very close to Barrister Robinson Imade is another legal practitioner, no other person than Felix. He said, welcome to the show, Felix. I appreciate your coming. And when I mentioned from 30 to 24, 22, there was this. Anyway, you know him, a Labour devotee, Money Mike Modesty Itoa. I really appreciate your coming.
Listen, good morning.
Thank you so much for coming.
Good morning.
All right. I know some of you want us to jump into 30 to 22, 24. Not yet. Let's focus on the peace accord signed by some political parties. Why some signed it willingly, some others signed it reluctantly, and why some, very few of them, they didn't even bother to sign. Yeah, very few. Anyway, let me start off from you, Barrister Robinson Imade. What do you feel about this peace accord? People have various interpretations of this signing of peace accord whenever an election is around the corner. How do you feel about this?
Well, the peace accord, as the name implies, is a promise to ensure that there is peace before, during, and after the elections. But I see it as a way of deceiving the public. I see it as a way of, as a whitewash kind of activity, because the intentions may be different. We saw it in 2015, but then how much of it was respected? I don't agree with you that anybody signed with reluctance, because nobody has actually said so. I know that those who may have the intentions to ensure that actual peace does not reign are those who quickly went to sign. If I were a presidential candidate, perhaps I would not have signed. Because if you ask me, how does that translate to free, fair, and credible elections? The one very important thing that ought to be, that would have told me and many discerning minds in Nigeria that we are for peace, we are for credible, we are for free and fair elections, would have been the electoral bill. We have seen it not signed. We have seen it not going to be signed, because even the National Assembly will not be able to get the two-thirds majority to overrule the president, because it has been seriously politicized. It is now a PDP's interest as against APC's disinterest. So the peace accord, yes, pleasing to the ears, nice to hear, nice to know, but I do not believe that it means so much or much at all to the election that is to come.
All right, Felix, what's your opinion?
Well, when we talk about an accord, we're talking about an agreement, talking about a form of, undertaking. Thereabout. So, like what my very senior colleague has said, so it's okay, it's fine. The truth of the matter, it does not have any legal implication. It's not enforceable. It's just a mere gentleman agreement. Okay, I promise to do this, I promise to do that. The mere violation of it does not warrant any legal sanction. Having said that, I think when we talk about peace, we cannot be talking about peace on the altar of injustice. We cannot be talking about peace on the altar of undemocratic practices. We cannot be talking about peace on the altar of shenanigans. When we are working towards a credible election, when we are talking about a peaceful election, 2019, what we are more concerned about is the democratic process. If the democratic process, if the electoral process is not guaranteed, we cannot guarantee peace. Peace is a collective effort. Peace is what we so much desire in the next election. But we cannot talk about peace if the electoral process is not free and fair. I watched Mr. President signing the peace accord. I was delighted and I was happy, but I don't understand the level of hypocrisy of leadership of Nigeria. a process that will guarantee free and fair election, a process that will guarantee credible election, a process that will guarantee history election, a process that will guarantee transparent election, a process that will guarantee, acceptable election was not signed. The bill was not signed into law, but Mr. President quickly went to go and sign the peace accord, even as the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I do not think that he should even be more concerned about peace accord. What should be more concerned is how to ensure that there is peaceful election, because you have all the armed forces, all the security agencies in your truth. But but let me remind you, when Mr. President was declaring for second term, when I came to this issue that day, I raised this very fundamental issue. When he was declaring for second term, we saw all the heads of security agencies being a part of the declaration. If such heads of security agencies who were a part of the declaration, who were already a part of the political process, how can you guarantee peaceful election in such an atmosphere? So, as an individual, I am saying that, okay, the peace accord is okay, but that is not what we need to guarantee peace in 2019 election. What we need to guarantee peace is to guarantee the democratic process.
All right. Our Labour devotee, you've been smiling, listening intently to what they've been talking about. So how do you see it?
I think I completely agree with the submissions of the two gentlemen. They have spoken my mind. But I also want to reiterate that the peace accord is a moral thing, just to morally persuade people to do the needful. Intentions could be different from actions. There are some persons have gone to sign, will not guarantee that the elections are going to be peaceful, credible, and acceptable to all. In 2015, we witnessed it, but I tell you, were it not for the God-given sacrifice of a single individual whom the Holy Spirit ministered to to save this country from the looming disaster then, I'm not sure that accord would have been anything to go by. So morally speaking, well, those who are behind it, like the former leaders and others, they have good intentions. But I would have expected them that for the fact that you have such intentions, the necessary institutions of government that are supposed to guarantee peace should be the ones even advocating and giving orientation to the entire Nigerians preparatory to 2019 general elections. But what we've been seeing so far shows clearly that these institutions that are in the hands of the executive are working hand in hand, collaboratively with the present federal government, as alluded to by his statement. That notwithstanding, we are Nigerians. Nigeria is ours. We have no other country. We are the power owners. To what extent are we ready to do that which is expected of us? How many of us are talking about politics today? How many have PVCs? How many are ready to pick up their PVCs and go to the polling booths to vote? How many will be ready to sacrifice their time and energy to queue under the sun to do the needful? We cannot continue to talk about politics, changing the change, or wanting to have a change in governance without carrying out our duties. We have a role to play. Violence, we perpetuate violence. We. When I say we, party members, the electorate are part of it. If you take 2,000 naira to vote against your will, that is also violence, as far as I'm concerned. You have brought violence against your own country, against your own self. When you are told that we humans will steal from ourselves, it's clear. A man who goes to the market to buy an item that he doesn't need and brings it home, has he not stolen from himself? So if you go to vote, you have a conscience. You got there, you moderate the conscience. Have you not stolen from yourself? At the end of the day, when it boomerangs on everybody. Therefore, I expect that while they are talking about their peace accord, our religious organizations, our traditional institutions, in fact, all institutions, NGOs and others, should start talking the talk right now. We should talk to ourselves. Let's talk to our consciences.
All right.
That's it.
All right. Now, from what you talked about, you mean that there's nothing good about the peace accord?
Well, I said it's gladdening to the ears, it's nice to hear. Outside this country, it shows readiness of the parties to play by the rules. But the situation on ground, the things we are seeing, is just making the whole exercise hypocritical. Hypocritical in the sense that, like has been seriously canvassed here, we do not need the peace pact to guarantee credible elections. We do not need the peace accord to guarantee free and fair elections. We do not need the peace accord to ensure that we eliminate hate speeches. The truth of the matter is that whether the election becomes free and fair, whether the election becomes credible and acceptable to people, depends on how the election managers handle it. It is sad to hear INEC say that PDP is pitching his staff against the people. It is sad to realize that till now, the umpire has blood relationship with the president. I'm talking about the INEC chairman. It is hard to realize till now that many, at least one or two others in the INEC executive are directly related to the president. And we are talking about free, fair, and credible elections. What would have guaranteed free, fair, and credible elections, outside the fact that we are, the INEC is composed as a biased umpire, is the fact that the electoral bill has tried to eliminate the handling, or the infiltration by humans.
But you're talking about INEC being biased, that's your opinion, because according to viewers and according to spectators, electorate, all of them are saying that INEC is going to ensure that Nigeria experience
even I expect that INEC will guarantee free, fair elections. But they say blood is thicker than water. There was hue and cry, as we told them now, that the chairman of the INEC, the lady next to him, are both directly related to the president, who is a candidate in this election. How can we eschew bitterness? How can we eschew nepotism from the activities? Outside of that, we get statements from INEC that suggest that it sympathizes with a political party. I don't want to mention which. And the electoral bill that ought to have handicapped any attempt to rig the election is being denied assent. And like I said, it's going to be very difficult for the National Assembly to do anything about it. The second time the assent was denied was for punctuation's sake. And today we are seeing different reasons why the electoral bill will not be signed. If that thing is not signed, there can be no guarantee that the over 13.5 million people or thereabout that voted, albeit wrongly in quotes, in the last election will not be used again. Don't forget that we are told by INEC that the IDP camps in Chad and Niger and in some parts of the country will have special voting centers. Is that what should be? Is that what we should be talking about now? Are Nigerians diaspora going to vote? What's special about the IDP camps that are located within certain electoral voting areas?
Okay. Now, would you want to pitch tent with him that if the electoral bill is signed into law, is going to ensure peace? Is that what you're purporting right now? Because what he said, he talked about the electoral bill not being signed, not being assented to, and that miscottle the process of the election.
It's very conspicuous. We do not really need any political scientist or security expert to tell this. Even a layman understands this fact very well. You know, recently I have been having some discussion with my friends, and one thing I keep saying that I fear 2019 election. I have my fears. I have my fears for two basic reasons. Number one, the type of presidency that we now have, controlled by a man who is not in charge.
How do you mean the man is not in charge?
The wife of the president.
That is the wife's statement, but the man says it's in charge.
I will give you facts. When we talk about facts, the facts are there.
That is the wife's opinion.
Let me give you facts. when there was Boko Haram attack in one state, he ordered the Inspector General of Police to go there. Later, he came to tell Nigerians that he was not aware that he went there. That is to say that the man is not in charge. I will say that number two reason why I'm scared is because of the personality of the national chairmanship of the ruling party. From antecedent, these are from antecedent, we have seen him as somebody who wants to always have his way. Whether at the country control, he's not interested. Having said that,
that's your own opinion because you may have a different opinion.
My personal opinion.
Yeah.
When the late President Musa Yar'Adua came into power, he said that the process that brought him into office was not credible. This was a man who admitted that he understood that the fact that the process that brought him to office was not credible, was not free and fair, and he had a desire to ensure that these things were amended, and he set up a committee, the reform committee, headed by the former Chief Justice of Nigeria, and they brought out blueprints. They brought credible blueprints for a free and fair election that today we are still enjoying. When President Jonathan came into office, he also did his best to ensure that he improves on the electoral process through signing of some bills into law. But today, we now have a president who has not made any attempt, any single attempt to contribute to a credible electoral process in Nigeria. But all he has done is to do everything possible to truncate, to sabotage the efforts of the National Assembly.
Hold it right now. If you don't have proof of what you're saying,
I'm going.
You have to please hold on, because right now you're laying accusation against the number one man of the country from your own opinion, and people may differ with his opinion.
Why I made such assertion? Number one.
Now hold on. Use the word assertion. We work with facts here.
Let me give you facts.
So for that reason, I'm going to pause you right now so I can get a hold of your emotion, because your emotion is pushing you to a dimension that may make us curtail the law of governing the airwaves, okay?
ITV.
All right? So please, be factual. Hold on. Mommy Mike, over to you. The bill...
You have shut him up.
No, I didn't shut him. I just want him to get a hold of his emotion, because right now the emotion is driving him to...
It's acceptable.
All right.
You are the anchor man, so you know the rules. Thank you for making us understand the rules. The bill, whether it will guarantee peace, whether it will contribute to peaceful election, not that it will guarantee peaceful election.
All right.
As far as I'm concerned, the bill has some elements that will contribute to peaceful election. If there are areas that are very, very glaring, that can easily give room for anarchy, for disagreement, and that bill has identified them, to me, yes, it will give some backing to peaceful election. But I'm not saying it will give 100% backing to peaceful election. The question remains, why is Mr. President dodging that bill? I don't want to sound somebody who is partisan. I like being very apolitical. But as a true Nigerian, I have my right to express myself. I want the present federal executive to pinpointedly tell Nigerians, or whoever cares to listen now, who is loyal to the present federal executive, to tell Nigerians the achievements that this present federal government has recorded in terms of electoral improvement. He just made an analysis of what past government did. What positive contribution has this present federal government made towards taking Nigeria to another higher positive level in the electoral and democratic process? Vote buying. A lot of things. Are those the achievements? We must always look inward. Mr. President is surrounded by a lot of hypocrites. And these things are becoming so glaring. Even at that, one would have expected that the same electoral bill that has been tinkered with over and over, based on your demands, is coming at the twilight of the election. You are not seeing that as relevant, but you prefer the peace accord to supersede the electoral bill. No. We've seen a lot of things have gone wrong. I'm not a prophet of doom, and I do not want to prophesy anything that has to be negative for Nigeria. I'm optimistic that if you and I, all of us here, those watching, those listening, we can sit and say, it is time. They cannot do it, we will do it for them. Then we will have our way. But if we fold our arms to say, now they know, sit down, look, they will continue to have their way. And the implications of their having their way will be, we will continue to remain, and not even to remain, we will continue to slide downwards. So, the citizens of this country, Nigerians are people, they have extraordinary patience. Extraordinary patience. Nobody wants to strike the match. But I continue to wonder, if you look at the processes, political processes that led to 2015 in terms of campaigns, hate speeches, social media propaganda, electronic propaganda, newspaper propaganda that came from the opposition, and the way and manner the people bought in, I wonder what we have achieved out of all those. Now, we have a lot of things to talk here. You are talking about the issue of minimum wage, which is secondary to this, which is another aspect of this matter. I want this same government and the loyalists to this same government to tell us what Nigerians have really benefited. Outline all the promises, the electoral promises, the campaign promises, both the political party itself and those who contested. At the federal level, at the state level, I can tell you, some of these guys are doing excellently well. But at the federal level, those things they campaigned with will get more light, 6 months, light will come. What is the light? And somebody said petrol will sell for 45 naira. Where is the petrol? Somebody said fuel subsidy is a fraud. Do we still have fuel subsidy now? We are talking in trillions. Somebody said Nigeria is indebted, but presently we are over 22 trillion. Have we taken a step, a giant step forward? Corruption, okay. What have we really achieved from this corruption drive?
Small.
Let them tell us, where is the monies they have gotten? What are these monies?
All right, thank you.
Are we improving better for the monies they have gotten?
All right, thank you, Morning Mike. Well, for what it judge is 3 questions. All right, so it's left for you to answer. But like what I used to say on the show, watch your emotions. That's where Felix was almost running foul. He made almost the same point, but he was guarded, following the rules and regulations governing the airwaves. So I just can't hack him. Over to you. Barrister Robinson, he said to ask the loyalists of this current administration. He also raised the point that the presidency is surrounded by hypocrites. And Barrister Felix also alluded to the fact that what the wife of the president said on the page of the newspaper, that 2 persons, she never mentioned name, are in charge, are controlling the government. With all this in place, do you see a wonderful election in 2019? Because Nigerians are asking what is really going on.
Yeah, I share the sentiments of Money Mike Modesty, that we can actually do something. I have asked the question several times, what are we doing about all of this? And the answer that glares at me is, how much can we do in the face of the security architecture being partisan? How much can we do when the people of Ekiti, in my opinion, spoke, and we see the result today? How much can we do when in Osun we saw what happened? How much can we do in the face of impunity when a party leadership, party in power, will say, this must happen, and it's at all costs? How much can we do when we are told that those who cannot bear the pains of rigging, I'm so sorry, losing?
Barrister, I know where you're going to.
At the end of the day, how much can we do when the facing space will be sieged by security men who are in themselves told what to do against the people? How much can we do when even the few small light arms we had to guide ourselves are taken away from us? and we see people who do not even understand what it means to carry gun, those who cannot even spare gun, carry AK-47 all over the country, how much can we do? But should we fold our arms in surrender to the oppressive tendencies? I say no. I would think that by the time we all rise up to overwhelm the so-called enemies, in quotes, who are supposed to be our leaders, much can be achieved. Why? Because the election that is to come is not isolated. The Ekiti election was isolated, the Kwara elections were isolated, but we are going to have, at the same time, all over the country, elections going on. And so the deployment of 2 million soldiers, 100,000 policemen to a particular state will not be there, unless we are going to get security aids from other countries to support. So I do not see the kind of, the size of our police force, even though they be beat recently, the military, by the repentant Boko Haram, funny. I don't see them being able to lay siege on or against the people.
All right.
But I see the people having a responsibility to stand up and say, this must be. And there is no force, no matter how formidable, that can defeat a people who have a resolve.
All right.
That resolve we must have if things must change.
If things must change. Well, he used the word perceived enemies. Well, they are not our enemies, they are our leaders, all right? They are not our enemies. Okay, let's just get that straight. We have to follow the rules and regulations governing the airwaves. They are our leaders. We have to contribute our own quarters also to make things right. Well, to commence our descent on this discourse, because we have I want to talk about the minimum wage, where people like saying that this is a macabre dance or someone is dealing, darling. Now, what do you really have to say? Because you're going to conclude right now about the sign of peace accord and how can Nigeria really attain peace come 2019, briefly, because I have to go to the second discourse.
Okay, I want to say that in the next 2019 election, the election is not going to be an APC election, it's not going to be a PDP election, it's going to be a Nigeria election. And we have a responsibility to ensure that there will not only be a peaceful election, but there will also be credible election. We have a duty to ensure that we stand our ground, our integrity, we believe that, oh, we can get these things right. No matter who is involved, we must be bold, we must be tenacious, we must be confident in ourselves. We should not allow anybody to intimidate us. We must ensure that our vote counts from the polling unit to the ward level to local government to state. We must ensure we monitor the process. If the president has failed to guarantee us a free and fair election by signing the electoral bill into law, we as Nigerians will have a duty to ensure that we protect our vote.
When the president didn't fail, he gave what's your emotions? He gave reasons.
So the reason is what is
he
the
gave
reason?
reasons. Okay, he didn't fail. He didn't fail. Before I say record, he didn't fail. All right, he did not fail. Anyway, having said that, it's all about the signing of the peace accord. You've heard them. They've spoken at length, bringing on issues, asking even more questions. Throwing more questions are the, how will I put it, lawyer list, and of course the electorate. How can this be if this is that? How can this be if this is not? And how can this be for us still going through this? So those questions being asked by my guests here in the studio, they're thrown at all Nigerians, the electorate, even the party in power, the opposition, you just name it. It's left for you to answer, because we need peace in the forthcoming election. Less than 3 months to go. Peace, peace, peace. Yes, they've signed. According to some persons, it's a good development, shows goodwill, but the implementation of the process that leads to peace, that is what Nigerians really want to see. Who and who are ready to really do the needful to make sure that there is peace. They gave strong reasons, real reasons. Well, if you just missed a part of it, you can go to our YouTube channel. You get to see this interview, you watch it again, you listen to them at TMI TV, www.youtube.com/ITV Radio NG. Yes, you just see it. Then from tomorrow, you get to listen to all they have to say. Okay, to the Labour government squabble. There was a pact. There was an accord. It was signed. The committee was led by Pepple, right? And 30,000 naira was agreed upon. They gave it to the president amidst cheers, amidst jubilation. All of a sudden, some said they saw it coming. The Governors Forum stepped up, saying, look, we can't pay this because of the prevailing economic situation. And the President said, look, if you don't want to give the labor rights or our own wages in terms of minimum wage, that means you are wicked. But last week, a few days ago, we get to hear the story. The governors insisted on 22. Surprisingly, the federal government are saying 24,000 naira minimum wage. And Nigerians are asking, was that the agreement? Anyway, but analysts with no more light on this, and I want to start off by throwing this question as within my modesty. They were all in the struggle, but it's like you are at the forefront, so to speak. What is happening? What is going on?
I listened to the best of my knowledge.
Yeah.
You will recall I was with you in this studio where we appraised the issues that have to do with the minimum wage about a month ago. Within the purview of the law of this country and within the purview of what I know of labor, we are not aware of anything having to do with 20,000, 22,000, or anything less outside 30,000 minimum wage, as agreed through a tripartite committee headed by the federal government of Nigeria. That report has been signed. As far as we are concerned, it has been sealed, and we are waiting for it to be delivered. The delivering has to do with a bill amending the old minimum wage law to be sent to the National Assembly. And I can tell you authoritatively that the National Assembly is patiently waiting for the President to forward that bill. And I assure you and Nigerian workers that if that bill gets to the National Assembly, it will take up to 2 weeks. Nigerian workers will have that to return to the President for his assent. I had the privilege of being in the National Assembly some few days back. Apart from the committee hearing that we went for, we had the opportunity of having some talk with some of the legislators, and they are very eager to have it. I asked some questions just now. Since the year 1998, Abdul Salami started wage increase. As head of state, he did. When President Obasanjo came, he gave a higher momentum to it. It was during Obasanjo that virtually all workers in Nigeria then, they were able to afford their homes. They were able to buy cars. President Jonathan came, he topped it up. The question is, the change Nigerians yearned for, the change that Nigerians were told will come, is this the change?
Yes.
And as a party that is ruling, you think, because the signs they are giving to Nigerians are one, where workers, how many are they? We can always win elections. Nothing will happen. Who bet them will win, whether they are there or not. We will give them the minimum wage. 2, the state executives wants to prove that they are not the owners of Nigeria and not the Nigerians that brought them into power. 3, all of them in the executive, at the state and at the federal, are convinced, so to speak, in quote, beyond reasonable doubt, that Nigeria and the finances of this country are in their hands. They can do and not do. Power belongs to the people.
All right.
On that note,
Yes.
I want to inform you, I want to use this medium to tell all Nigerians and the people of the whole world that we have served them yellow card. We are getting prepared to serve the red card.
Okay. All right. Now, before it gets to red card, just hold on. I don't know the tension. Anyway, he used the word signed, sealed, but not delivered. And the delivery seems to be problematic because we are hearing different figures from what they signed. It was 30,000. The states insisted on 22. And the most shocking aspect is the federal saying 24. I don't know, beats me hollow. But Mr. Robinson, he has spoken. He is a labor devotee. He is in the struggle, forefront of the struggle. How do you feel about this?
Well, it was said earlier on in this program that we have a president who is not in charge. This is
the president may differ. He's in charge. Look, Barrister, what's your emotions?
It was said.
What's your emotions? And I had to correct him.
Okay,
All right.
it was corrected earlier on in this program.
Yes.
When it was said that the president was not in charge. Is this not showing how much charge he has of his administration? If you recall, the day this tripartite committee submitted this report, the president was elated. He said he will ensure that very quickly this thing gets to the National Assembly and Nigerians will get what they want. And within 24 hours after that excitement, those in charge changed the tune of the president. I'm not talking about those in charge of labor or the minimum wage, those in charge of the administration. And today we have a situation where a tripartite committee made up of labor, the private sector or private sector and government have agreed. And we are dilly-dallying, using your words. The truth of the matter is that minimum wage for this year is not what this government should have been dilly-dallying about, except for the fact that there is absolute impunity. There is this I don't care attitude. There is this belief that Nigerians do not count. There is this belief that as a government, we will get whatever we want, irrespective of what the people say or do. Otherwise, anybody would have thought that at this critical time in Nigeria, the government would have been excited and quickly signed the electoral bill, believing that Nigerian workers are a formidable force in the electoral process. But here, we do not believe that they believe that the votes will count. Otherwise, it's a time. The Labour so timed their demand that one would have expected that without even a warning strike, this, which has been overdue, would have been signed. The delivery is slow. The delivery may not come. The delivery may be forced out. But it all goes to show how insensitive, with due respect, this government is. I recall that in 2011, when Korocha just took over in Imo State, he came out to say, oh, Hakim had budgeted 6 billion naira as security vote. I'm slashing it to 2 billion. Even at 30,000 naira a month, how many workers will pay with 2 billion naira? We find a situation where the governors are living large, where the governors are living larger than life situation, and yet to pay workers the minimum wage of 30,000 naira, which is about how many dollars they say they cannot pay. The private sector was a problem in the past. They will say, oh, no, we cannot meet it. There was a time we even agreed that the private sector should pay less than the public sector. But now the private sector is not the problem. The government will know who are today buying votes by giving market money to people. Are those saying...
Barrister, watch your emotions.
All right.
Watch your emotions. Please.
The government will not buying votes, that's withdrawn.
All right.
Are giving largesse to the populace, 10,000 naira that will not do any tangible thing for anybody. But they say, you know how many billions they have spent? Giving to people, loans that are not guaranteed, loans that are going to private pockets, loans that have no recourse. And yet the workers who are the creators of the wealth of any nation are denied a paltry minimum wage of 30,000 naira per month. The delivery will not come. The delivery has to be forced out from this government by Labour.
From what he said, delivery will not come. It has to be forced out from the government by Labour. Barrister Felix?
In 2015, I was a member of the APC. I was a Buharist. I was one of those who...
Here you come to watch your emotions.
That was who I am. That was who I am.
All right.
We moved from places to places. I was a part of, this is not hearsay, this is what I was a part of. We moved from one place to another because I served in different committees. And one of the promises we made was that there will be good package for Nigerian workers. Increment in minimum. In fact, there was one of those categorical statements by the current vice president when he came to Imagoro Hall, Isapre Road, that at least the minimum wage for workers in Nigeria will be not less than 40 40,000 naira. He said it, I was there, we were part of this campaign. But today, where are we? The promise we made to Nigerians, have we been able to achieve it? Today, where are we? You know, sometimes as a lawyer, when I go to court, when I go to some places, when I see civil servants, sometimes I weep. When I see the impoverished state of some civil servants, when I see some of them cannot achieve anything, when I see some civil servants turning to beggars, with due respect to them, I weep for the country. When I see civil servants, the way they dress, they cannot afford good shirt, I weep. When I see the way civil servants are being treated, before I used to think that when you are a government worker, when you work in the government sector, oh, you are happy, you are satisfied, everything is okay. I came to realize that a graduate who entered the civil service at the level of level 8, they also end up to 45,000 naira. When people talk about minimum wage, they think that the civil servant I need 46,000 naira. That is an amount most of our young politicians here, they don't even spend more than that in beer parlor a night dealing with people. So we're still talking about 30,000 naira minimum wage. I think in my own personal opinion, I think the labor leaders, with due respect to them, the labor leaders, they had an opportunity to be able to ensure that this thing come into reality, but they messed it up. There was a time when they were almost going on strike. They were more declared indefinite strike, and Nigerian workers were ready. I do not expect them to yield to any form of pressure at that moment to start signing any form of any sharded document, any document that will not be binding on anybody. But they hastily went into agreement, they smiled at the end, they called up the strike. I would have expected them to allow the strike to continue. Let the tripartite agreement be signed, let the bill be prepared first and sent to the National Assembly before they call up the strike. I would have expected that, oh, there is a process already on ground before they call up the strike.
Okay. All right.
But they didn't do that.
You react to that. I don't want to react to that because right now it's pushing it back to you.
Yes. His expectation
yeah.
to him and to us is justifiable. There is a way labor works. The essence of that action then was to force government to come back to the table and sign those documents. And that was achieved. You see one thing about going on strike. Before any labor union or trade center declares a strike, the sympathy of the entire populace is very, very important. Now, the benefit of doubt was given to the government. Over a month ago, nothing has been done. That's why I told you, yellow card has since been served. And when the red card comes, my dear brother, what teach you they hatch the egg? That's how your body day. Let me tell you one thing, Wilson.
Yeah.
Do you know the games they are playing? Let me reveal it to Nigerians. The governors are ready to pay 30,000. All they are doing right now is they are saying the money that is going to subsidy should be removed. They are contemplating that. 2, you remember they mentioned that revenue should be reviewed in favor of states. They are dancing to somewhere. They want to open up a fresh negotiation. So it will not look like, okay, if we are giving you this, the money we are paying on fuel subsidy should be removed, which means the petroleum industry should be open to the vagaries of the markets. Like my brother said. If we come into power, refineries will be functional within 2 years. Petroleum products will be available everywhere. Petrol will be sold for 45 naira per liter. As we speak, how much is petrol? They started subsidy, and the commander-in-chief didn't know that subsidy was being paid. I'm further confirming to you that some persons are in charge.
That somebody is not.
And the commander-in-chief didn't know that subsidy payment had commenced. Now running into trillions. Kachuku is still there as Minister of State Petroleum Resources. Modular refineries, where are they? All the people and enterprises that were given licenses to build refineries, where are they? The more you look, the less you see. So tell them, while they were contemplating 24, 22, South Africa gave 128,000 plus.
Yes.
Just about 3 weeks back. What is the volume of economic attainment in South Africa? That a Nigerian who migrates from here to South Africa tomorrow gets a job doing, even within the private sector, earns 120-something thousand naira. Why would Nigerians not go to the Mediterranean Sea?
To drown.
How many people have died in the Mediterranean Sea since this government came? Let's equate it to what has happened before. People don't, I don't know what they talk about politics. Change we need, change we got, and change we are suffering. How many Nigerians have migrated across the seas between 2015 and now? We had expected when change came, the migration level would have reduced. Has it reduced? My dear brother, well, I'm not a politician. Nigerians,
all right,
go and use your rights.
Okay, Nigerians, go and use your rights. Questions. I thought I was supposed to be asking this question, but I'm not asking the questions now. So you see, it could just go vice versa. It's a rhetorical question. You'd be the one to answer the question. Yes, change. Cuts across party lines. You've heard him. He said, if you have the yellow card, do you see Labour bringing out the red card? Because you used the word be forced out of the government. You see Labour force talking about the NLC, TUC, all of them coming together to serve the red card, to force it out of the government of the day because of this dilly-dally. Because Nigerians are still like scratching their ears. From 30, one is saying 22, other is saying 24. Was that the agreement? Do you see it going to that level? Red card, enough?
Well, let me quickly say that for the first time, perhaps in a long while, Labour has followed this minimum wage issue professionally. There is no way you would have asked Nigeria to be a standstill while the bill will move from the executive to the legislature, and no matter the time it takes. No, that would have been forcing Nigerians to be against you, Labour. Professionally, because they said they were going on strike, warning strike over the non-convenience of the tripartite committee. That happened, and it was incumbent on them to have called up the strike at that time. Whether or not the red card will be given, I'm even thinking that it's taking too much time to print the red card. Because like Modesty said, we are hearing just now the governor saying you must review upwards our quota or you remove the subsidy. And Nigerians will listen to such insults and be quiet. I think we're saying that the time has come for Labour to say no. Give us minimum wage without strings attached. The question is, what did Labour benefit when petrol price was moved from 87 naira to 145? What did Labour benefit, or what did Nigerians benefit when the official price of kerosene, what we believe the common people use, was moved from 50 to over 200 naira a litre? What did Nigerians benefit when subsidy was removed from AGO, diesel? So for anybody to throw kites, to want to test the waters by saying improve quota or remove subsidy before you can pay minimum wage, is even against the Minimum Wage Act. Let the president or the presidency or the executive, if we still have somebody in charge there, move this bill to the National Assembly as was promised the first day that it was given. Let the National Assembly pass it. And let any other person refuse to pay. The governors, for example. Some governors have said they will pay even much more than the 30,000. And the Minimum Wage Act provides for sanctions. Sanctions have never come to play in our own labor circles because the courts are available. And strike, which is the greatest weapon of workers, have always been used to force people to comply. As far as I am concerned, the red card will come, it should come quickly. And apart from the workers of Nigeria, every other sector will be sympathetic to that strike. If Labour does not want, if government does not want this election to hold, Labour can help them realize that fact. Let's look at it. Minimum wage of 30,000, who are those benefiting? Labour has a lot of work to do. If we are talking about minimum wage of 30,000, maybe Labour does not know that it will not benefit its members.
No, so they higher.
Obasanjo brought about monetization. Permanent secretaries now have 4 workers, domestic servants, driver, cook, 2 other domestic servants that are paid the minimum wage. And so each permanent secretary will have 30,000 naira times 4 added to his salary. Labour will lose out because they don't really employ them. They employ them, they are not unionized. In Edo State, where we are, how many people, man should tell us, are in employment of government between levels 1 and 4 and 5? If you ask me, less than 5,000 people in all. In fact, there will be nobody.
No, I don't even think there's any.
There will be nobody. And the minimum wage well done in Nigeria is heavy at the bottom. There is what they call relativity, which Nigerian government and Labour will not push for. Relativity would mean if 18,900 was the minimum wage and you are making 30,000, what percentage increase do you have? Put it across the board to the highest level. But what we have is a situation where they say level 1 step 1 30,000 naira, level 2 step 1 35, and the like. When it comes to level 6 and 7 and above, where you have people, you'll be having 200 naira, 100 naira added to each grade level. Is that minimum wage increase? We must begin to think of relativity. And relativity means the percentage increase at the bottom should go across the board. If you say it's going to be too high, let it be graduated with the consent of Labour. We saw it in the past when minimum wage was given. Edo State was the first to say, "Oh, we'll pay," and nobody was there to earn the minimum wage.
All right.
That's the situation that we have today.
Wow.
And this must be addressed. Otherwise, the minimum wage will not avail anything to the workers.
All right. Well, red card, yellow card, another most of you are like Jerry right now to get to a place of worship. So I'm going to give each one of you 1 minute each to conclude. 1 minute start now. Felix, minimum wage
I
start.
think on the issue of the labor, I keep saying that one of the challenges we have in Nigeria is Nigerian governors. They see themselves as God, they decide that. I do not see any reason why a governor who earns up to 500 million naira a month, security board will say we do not have money to pay minimum wage. It's an insult to all Nigerians. So we must ensure that we do everything possible to ensure that the minimum wage is actualized. They have to decentralize their resources. They have to remove a lot of expenses, the high expenses, to ensure that this minimum wage is covered by Nigerians and they benefit from it.
Well, thank you so much, Felix. Money Mike, please, 1 minute.
Minimum wage is long overdue. The last was in 2011. By law, it ought to have been reviewed in 2015. We are in 2018. Present federal government is dilly-dallying. They should not overstress the patience of the Nigerian workers.
All right, thank you so much, Money Mike. 1 minute.
Minimum wage, 30,000 naira, nothing less, should be called from government by Labour. But over and above that, Labour should begin to talk about relativity. Let it not be approved for people who do not exist.
All right.
Relativity is the answer if the workforce are to benefit sumptuously for the minimum wage.
All right, relativity. Thank you so much, gentlemen. I appreciate a wonderful analysis. We're quite heated up in the studio. More questions and answers. Well, let's see what will happen. The PISA code and, of course, the minimum wage. 30, 24, 22. Anyway, Nigerians, we are watching. We are watching. Thank you so much once more, gentlemen. I appreciate a wonderful analysis. Thank you so much. Well, we'll go on a break. We'll be right back. Do stay tuned.